What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, Joy Speaks, a channel that I created to provide a voice to the recovery community. And when I say recovery community, I'm referring to those who are struggling with mental health, substance abuse, or alcohol issues, or the people that are affected by these issues. Because as we know, it's not just the addict or the alcoholic that's affected, it's also the community that surrounds them. First off, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. We're almost at 100 subscribers. I'm amazed by that. I'm humbled by that. Thank you. You know, the goal is to get to 500 and we are well on our way. So while we're on that subject, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing to stay informed and up to date on everything that happens on my channel. And it also helps me grow. It helps me reach a larger platform. The more engagement, the more my platform will grow. So thank you guys. Thank you for hitting that like, share, and subscribe button. You guys are really riding with me, so thank you. So today we're gonna do another story time. That's right. I got some really good feedback from the last story time, so I'm gonna keep the story time train rolling. And today we're gonna talk about psychosis. Psychosis. What comes to mind when you hear that word? Psychosis, right? That root word, psycho, right? I know for me, I think of horror movies. I think of crazed people. I think of serial killers. I think of padded walls with straitjackets. And I also think of how I got introduced to recovery and sobriety was through psychosis. So the National Institute of Mental Health defines psychosis as a collection of symptoms that affect the mind, where there have been some loss of contact with reality. During an episode of psychosis, a person's thoughts and perceptions are disrupted and they may have difficulty recognizing what is real and what is not. Sounds scary, right? And let me tell you guys, psychosis is terrifying. Terrifying. But if it weren't for my, psychotic episodes, to be honest, I never would have sought help in recovery, and I wouldn't be living clean and sober with 3.5 years of recovery and sobriety today. So that gift of desperation was introduced for me through psychosis. And so I want to talk about that. So we have all seen the people who are running down the street, walking down the street, screaming at the top of their lungs, losing their clothes, having fits of rage, but we also don't see the person that they're talking to. So from the outside looking in, right, it looks like they're talking to themselves. But what I can tell you guys is that, coming from a place of experience with psychosis, I know how that feels to be having a full-on conversation with someone that is not really there. And once again, that's going back to this definition of losing touch with reality. And I also want to bring up, there's an acronym that I really resonate with for fear. FEAR. A great acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. I'm going to say that one more time. A great acronym for fear. False evidence appearing real. Right? So it looks evident, right? It seems evident, right? It smells evident, right? It appears real, but it ain't. And for me, my moment of psychosis is what led to me seeking help, and I want to talk a little bit about what that looked like for me. So my journey with active addiction started a long time ago, and it started with we'll call them party drugs or party substances, right? So they weren't the hard stuff. But what I know about myself is that like my partying and my active addiction is progressive in nature. So no matter what I start off doing, towards the end of it, I'm always doing 10 times more, or I'm like moved on to a stronger substance. And so the end of my active addiction was with, a certain substance that we've talked about before that I'm not going to name, but it sounds like Bristol, right? Sounds like that. And so I had been using that substance for a long time. And when I say using it for a long time, I don't mean like 5 or 10 years. What I mean is that I used it every single day, without a break in between, for 2 years straight, right? Every single day. When I first tried it, I just did a little bit, right? I didn't need a lot, and it had an overwhelming effect on me, especially on my mind, right? But as I mentioned, earlier in the video, my addiction is progressive in nature. So that means that I may start off with a little bit, but eventually I'm going to want more. And I'm also building up a tolerance, right? So the little bit that I did yesterday to get me to, let's say here, now I'm going to need twice that amount to get me to that same place, because my tolerance is building up. So you can only imagine, how high my tolerance got after 2 years of daily use of this substance. This substance that is known to take your teeth away. This substance that is known to rob you of your beauty, right? Cause craters in your skin, right? Lesions on your skin, right? This substance that's also known to cause you to lose your mind. And so I had brief moments of psychosis that kind of led up to an extreme episode. And so what that looked like for me was that, after about 1.5 years of daily using, in that time frame, I'm not getting a lot of sleep. I'm getting maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours of sleep a night. And then I'm also not eating, right? So I'm robbing my body of, the basic necessities to survive in life, which is nutrients through food, right? And then regeneration through sleep. And so I was robbing my mind, body, and soul of the basic need of food and sleep. So you can only imagine, how just muddied up and disrupted my life, my physical life, had become, because I was not taking care of myself and I could not put that substance down. And so I would encounter brief moments of like thinking I'm hearing things, right? But then telling myself like, no, I'm tripping. I'm not. And how it started was like, it started with like whispers, right? Like maybe you hear a very faint whisper, right? But then you also tell yourself like, no, there's nobody there. Like, I'm tripping, right? It started like that. And then eventually the whispers became, full on voices, right? And at first the voices were unintelligible, meaning like I didn't know, like I couldn't identify whose voice I was hearing. I just knew I was hearing something. And I also couldn't really identify what the voices were saying, which is odd because as scary as it was, it's not like I was hearing things like you're gonna die or we're gonna get you, but I was hearing things. I was hearing voices. And so what I was doing, which is completely insane, is like when I would hear the voices, I would use even more, right? Because for whatever reason, I thought, okay, maybe I just need to get a little bit higher, right? And then I won't hear the voices anymore. But that's the insanity, right? That's the insanity that, one lives in when they are, kind of powerless in their active addiction. And so the voices, that started off as whispers then became full voices. But let me tell you when it started to get scary. The voices then became identifiable. I know the most prominent voice I heard uh, towards the end of my active addiction and in my psychosis was my mom's voice. And that was what caused the paranoia to kind of infiltrate, my psychosis, because now I'm hearing my mom's voice, and then I'm also fully aware that I am abusing these substances. And so, there's this gut feeling of like, I'm gonna get caught. Like my mom's gonna walk in on me, using this substance. And so I didn't really know how to process that. So for, a couple weeks, what I did was I just tried to ignore it. But in that time of me trying to ignore it, I didn't put the substance down. I continued to use. And then it got scarier, right? Because first I was just hearing my mom's voice. Then I started to hear my sister's voice, my little sister, which added to the paranoia, right? Which added to this extreme angst and anxiety, because now I'm in my room, and mind you, this is in the middle of the shutdown. This is in the middle of us, being told to stay home, to isolate, not to go anywhere, So I'm in my bedroom, and I'm thinking that I'm hearing my mom and my sister right outside my bedroom door. And God knows what I thought they were doing. I think I thought they were plotting against me. Delusional. It like incredibly delusional. And so once again, I'm in this situation where, like, if I were a normal person, I probably would have taken the hint and put the substance down. But instead, I continued to use it. And then it got worse. Because what started as my mom and my sister's voice, then I started to hear my aunt's voice, right? And then I could hear my mom and my aunt and my sister in the driveway of my apartment building, like getting out of the car. Like I was hearing car doors slam. And now granted, I could have absolutely been hearing car doors open and close because the garage of my apartment building was right outside my window. So like that part could have and probably was absolutely true. But you pair those auditory, sounds with, a brain and a mind that's already paranoid. Like the delusions that I created it was insane. It was insane. And right when I thought it couldn't get any scarier, it did. Because not only was I hearing, my mom's and my sister and my aunt's voices, and, hearing what sounds like them coming out of the car, I started to smell my mom's perfume, my mom's scent, and I remember vividly when I smelled my mom's perfume. I was thinking that this is for sure. Like my mom is definitely right outside my bedroom door. And the strange part about psychosis is, like, there is no rationalizing anything. There's no logic, because if you think about it, like, why would my family just be sitting outside my bedroom door? Like, why wouldn't they come in? Like, why wouldn't they be talking to me? Like, why would they just be having full-on conversations randomly right outside my bedroom door while I'm in there using a substance? But I couldn't think that far, because my brain was handicapped. I hadn't slept and eaten in almost 2 years. Yes, I took cat naps. Yes, I would have, like, protein shakes and candy and chips, but but nothing of any real sustenance. And so I was plotting. I was like, you know what? This is it. I know I can hear them. I can, not only can I hear them now, but I can smell them. I'm going to catch them. So what I did was I got a Ring camera, right? And I set up the Ring camera in my living room, and I put it in a position where, you know, if someone were to just kind of walk into my living room, they probably wouldn't notice it, because I wanted to I'm laughing now because it's nuts. Like, it's legit crazy. And by the way, let me just say, I'm so grateful that my psychosis is not permanent, because a lot of people's experience with psychosis has led to what's called permatweak, where they are permanently in psychosis, permanently hearing voices, permanently having auditory and visual hallucinations, you know, voices for the rest of their life. And the way that I was indulging, that could have easily have been my story. But I'm so grateful that it's not, and that I am relatively sane today. But yeah, so I say that to say, like, you know, I am incredibly blessed to have come out of that. So anyway, I got my Ring camera and I set it up, and I wanted to catch them. I wanted to catch them in the act. And so, of course, the time came where I was in my room, I was doing the substance, and I heard the voices, right? And I could smell my mom's perfume, right? And I could, it was so vivid, you know, the smell, the sound, you know, you couldn't tell me at that point that they weren't right outside my bedroom door. And so once I heard them, I went on the app on my phone and I hit the live view button, because I knew I was going to catch them, because I'd been hearing them outside my door this whole time. And I hit the live view button on my camera, and the living room was completely empty. Completely empty. I mean, nothing. No movement whatsoever. And that was, I will never, ever forget that day for the rest of my life, because that was the first time, even though I hadn't slept in almost 2 years, even though I hadn't had, you know, a hearty meal in God knows how long, I had enough clarity in that moment to know that I was losing it. I was losing my marbles, because I know what I heard, I know what I smelled, but there was no denying what I saw, right? And what I saw was an empty living room. And what that meant was that all this time, me thinking that my family is after me, it was all in my head, losing touch with reality. So because of that pivotal moment, that's when I decided to get some help. That's when I decided that I could not carry on living the way that I was living, because I was not going to make it. I was not going to make it. I was already gone up here. And, you know, it has taken some major work in recovery, getting outside help, you know, processing and navigating and, you know, regenerating my life. It has not been easy, but for those of you out there who may know someone, may be close with someone, or maybe just notice somebody, you know, screaming at the top of their lungs, you know, or having a fight with an imaginary person, please understand and have some compassion that that person is struggling. And that person may very well be having a conversation with someone that we all just can't see. And I'm grateful because it was such a humbling experience, because now today, you know, I look at people who have mental health issues just like I would look at myself. It's no longer that's them and this is me, right? So with that experience, as dangerous and life-threatening as it was, it also helped change the trajectory of the rest of my life, because now today I don't put any substances in my body. Now today I get to talk about losing my mind, because people need to know, people need to understand that, like, yes, they may look crazy from the outside, but they are human beings just like we are. And you never know what kind of spiritual warfare or emotional warfare someone is having. So let's not judge each other. Let's be kind to each other, right? Let's talk about the things that we're going through. Let's spread hope. Let's incite some change. And also, let's subscribe to my channel so that we can keep these story times going. I hope that was entertaining for you guys, but most importantly, I hope that was educating, because that's part of what I want to do here. Is I want to educate, because there's a lot of stigma surrounding mental health. There's a lot of stigma surrounding substance abuse and alcohol issues. And I believe that the only way to break that stigma is to talk about what's going on, to be honest, to talk about the things that are uncomfortable, to talk about the things that our parents and our family say we don't talk about unless it's behind closed doors. No, because what that's done is that's created a society of people who are ashamed to tell their truth. And then what happens when we can't tell our truth? Then we pick up substances because we can't cope and deal with our reality. We got to put a stop to that. We have to. We got to create safe spaces. We have to create open dialogue so people can share about the things that are haunting them. Because the next generation doesn't have to suffer the way that I had to, right? Or the way that my family had to, right? But I'm not here to preach, just here to share, incite some change, have some thought-provoking conversation, and educate a little bit and have a good time. So hit like, hit share, hit subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.